Hey there, do you struggle with finding leading indicators to monitor so that way you can stop accidents from happening? You actually have a very unique tool in your toolbox that will help you identify these leading indicators. And it all starts with your accident investigations. Let's get to it. Hello, my safety friends. Welcome to the Safety Geek. My name is Bri, your #1 safety geek. And here we are always talking about management commitment and support, employee engagement, and building a safety culture. I love to give you tips and tricks on how to make your job easier and more effective. So today we are talking about root cause analysis, but we're also talking about leading indicators. So here's the thing. In order to stop accidents from happening, you need to identify the actions and behaviors that are causing the accidents and monitor those and improve those behaviors and actions before an accident ever happens. But so many safety professionals, even seasoned ones, have a very difficult time identifying their leading indicators for their operation. But you actually have something in your arsenal that you can use to figure this out, and it is your accident investigations. So we are going to use your root causes and your contributing causes to create leading indicators. I know, it's really weird. So here's the thing. Whenever I think about accident investigations, there are two things that come to mind. One is the past always predicts the future, which if you're a history buff, you know that that's kind of like a leading thing there that they're always saying. So you can look to the past to predict the future. So if an accident happened before, it's gonna happen again. And the other one is from Peter Pan. This has all happened before, and this will all happen again, right? Unless you actually go in and make some sort of significant change. And that's what you need to make sure you're doing. So after following every accident, incident, near miss, you should be doing an accident investigation. And the goal of that investigation is to do a root cause analysis, which is identifying what caused the accident and really drilling down into like, how did this really happen? So what a root cause is it is the one thing, or I like to say more than one thing, and I'll get to that in a second, but it's the one thing that if it was not present, the accident would not have happened. If this one thing was not present, the accident would not have happened. I believe that you can have multiple root causes, but when you're analyzing your root causes, really analyze it to that level. If it wasn't there, this would not have happened, right? And if you think about it, people driving on a suspended license, that's kind of I believe the insurance company would even try to say like, well, they should have never been on the road, so the accident wouldn't have happened. So think about that, those types of things too. That is the root cause. But as you are hunting down that root cause and as you are doing that investigation, you're going to come across lots of other things that went wrong or could have been done better or might have prevented the accident. I call those contributing causes. So a contributing cause is something that if it wasn't present, it was something that definitely could be improved on or went wrong. And if it wasn't present, the accident may still have happened, right? So think about that too, is that it's not going to totally eliminate the accident, but it might have reduced the chance that the accident would have happened. So whether it is a root cause or whether it is a contributing cause, it really doesn't matter because in your mind, you should be looking to eliminate all of them, whether it is a root cause or a contributing cause. You have a greater impact if it is a root cause, right? If you can actually point to a root cause and say, this accident would not have happened if these things were not present, then it's easier to get engineering controls in place, get the budget to fix it, and those types of things. But when it is a contributing cause, you could see your management team or your finance team or something like that going, you don't know if that was really the reason why it happened, okay? But regardless, you need to try to do your best to eliminate all of those. That's how you get to zero, because It all happened before and it will all happen again unless you make some sort of change. So when you are looking at your contributing causes and your root causes, what I want you to do is take a step back and say, as a company, what could we have done to stop this from happening? Because too many times what will happen is that one of the contributing causes or multiple of them will be a human factor. And we feel like we don't have control over that human factor, right? That employee not following the procedures, or that employee's physiology, or that employee's goofing off or anything like that. We feel like we don't have control over that, but you 100% do. You just have to put the tools in place to take control of it, right? So many times I'll see an accident happen, like someone's lifting a box and they'll strain their back, right? And the supervisor and management team are like, hey, there's nothing we can do. The guy's out of shape. He's, he was twisting while he was lifting. He's been trained. I can't help it that he didn't follow the training. And me as a safety manager, I look at it as like, okay, how many times have you observed him lifting and didn't correct him? How many times have you corrected him? Do we have a wellness program to help him change his physical health if he wanted to? Do we have like healthy snacks available? Do we have things like that? So there are things that you can do. You just have to take ownership of them. So when you take that step back and you say, as a company, what can we do to prevent this from happening again? Because human factors are really hard to engineer out unless you replace the human with a robot, right? So from there, you want to make sure that you are pulling leading indicators. So leading indicators are the actions or behaviors that can contribute to an accident, that if you leave them unchecked, eventually something bad is going to happen, or the risk of something bad is going to happen. So if you think about a person who is always twisting while they're lifting, let's say that they are building a pallet and they go from the warehouse rack to the pallet, and this is their movement. I actually had packers from a machine make this same movement too. And you do that long enough, eventually you're going to strain your back, or you've actually increased your risk of straining your back. All right, so you have to know these leading indicators and then make improvements on them. So for my case with my packers, I actually forced them to move the pallet further away. So that way when they picked from the machine, they had to take a step to the pallet. So there were things that me as a company I could do to fix the situation instead of just training that employee. So that's an example of using a leading indicator. So the idea is that if you focus on leading indicators and you improve those, you will get closer and closer to zero, because no one is taking the actions or no one is doing the behavior that is going to result in the injury. No one's twisting while lifting because they don't have the opportunity to, right? And you've trained them not to, and you've observed them on it, and you've built that safety habit where they don't twist and lift. That is where leading indicators come in. But people struggle to find the leading indicators. But you have just done an accident investigation on somebody who was twisting while lifting. That is full of leading indicators. And I know that the accident happened and leading indicators are supposed to be before the accident happened. But remember, the past predicts the future. Even though only one person was injured in this accident, in my hypothetical situation, the fact that they did that action, that they did that behavior, there is the chance that another employee will do the same behavior and that same action, which will result in the same injury. So if you want to reduce the repeating injuries, you have to address the leading indicator that caused the accident that you're currently investigating. So how do you do that? As you are doing your root cause analysis and your accident investigation, you're coming up with root causes and contributing causes. And I want you to get them all out on the table. Get your whiteboard ready, start writing them down, right? And for each one, I want you to drill all the way down to what was the action or behavior that the employee was doing when they were injured. And it might be more than one employee, especially if you have an accident that involves 2 or 3 employees. What was every action, every behavior they were doing at the time of the accident? List them all out. Now you're going to look at your corrective action. Is your corrective action that you came up with going to eliminate those behaviors 100%? Is there no chance whatsoever that they are still going to be twisting and lifting? So even though I engineered out, kind of, right? I moved the pallet machine further away and I forced them to do that. Does that completely eliminate the twisting and lifting? No, it doesn't, because there's still a chance you're going to have a taller person, a person with bigger arms, longer legs, be able to do this and this, right? So you're going to still have the chance of them picking from one area and then reaching and lifting. So it doesn't 100% eliminate it. And then what you say, question 3, is what action or behavior do I want them to do instead? So you know what they were doing. You know whether or not it's going to be engineered out through your corrective action. And then you have, what do you want them to do? And it is the answer to that last question that is going to end up being your leading indicator. That then becomes your focus area and how you can correct the problem. All right, so now that you know your leading indicator, all you have to do is update your policies, procedures, your SOPs, your JHAs, whatever it is that you use to say, no, this is a behavior we want you to do because, and you always have to have the reason why they have to do the behavior. It will reduce twisting while lifting, right? If you don't put that why in there, people won't understand why that policy is in place. I love to say that safety policies are written in blood, but sometimes people forget where that blood came from. So you have to tell them this is going to stop people from twisting and lifting, or whatever your example happens to be. All right, so once you've updated everything, you then have to train everybody on that behavior that you want them to do. Create a training program, do a toolbox talk, do a lunch and learn, whatever it happens to be. If your accident that happened resulted in multiple behavior changes, you can group those together in one training. You can say, hey, we just had an accident that happened with somebody at this machine because they were twisting and lifting. We're going to go through and show you how this could have been prevented because we don't want this to happen to you. Put it all in one training. But you can't stop there. Retraining is never enough. You have to reinforce the behavior through coaching and observations and make sure that you are saying, yep, you are doing it right. No, you can do it a little bit better, whatever it happens to be. If you're not coaching and observing on it and doing that frequently, you're not going to reinforce that new behavior. And lastly, once you know that they've got it, once you know that they're no longer twisting and lifting or they're no longer doing that bad behavior, you can't let that behavior go extinct. What that means is that you focused really hard on it. You worked really hard to make sure that they change that behavior. The moment you walk away and you stop reinforcing it, they are more likely to revert back to their old ways. It takes many, many years to change safety habits. So what you have to do is, instead of reinforcing that behavior maybe every day or every few days, maybe you start spreading out your frequency on reinforcement. You do it once a week, and then you do it once every 2 weeks, then you do it once a month, but you never let it drop down because that caused an accident and it can still cause an accident in the future. Plus you have new hires coming in and you want to make sure that they're trained properly too. So that is the key, and that is how you're going to use your accident investigations to identify your leading indicators, and then you're going to take that information and change your process to stop repeat accidents. All right, I hope you got a lot out of this. I should never, ever hear anybody say that they don't know what their leading indicators are, because all it takes is looking at your accident investigations. You guys have an amazing day, and I will chat with you next week. Bye for now.